what is it, why is it when we look at a group of art and say, oh yeah, this is Iraqi art, even before we recognize the artist, what makes it Iraqi? What is that thing?
So we're going to kind of like shift and narrow in a little bit more on Iraq. You have a book coming out. I put one of Dia Azawi's works up because I know you work really closely with him. But can you talk a little bit more about like what were Iraqi artists, or I know we're into the whole country, and I know you want to focus a little bit more on cities, so feel free to do that as well. But how were they reckoning with, you know, the changes in Iraq's political situation, in the ways that they were coming to see themselves as artists? What was visual arts like in the period that, you know, you're really interested in exploring in this next book?
So in this next book, kind of, you know, wants to take the ideas of an Arab aesthetics into sort of the micro as I move forward. And basically, I mean, of course, my focus on Iraq is, I suppose, natural. I grew up in Baghdad, seeing those artists, you know, hanging at my parents' house and friends' houses around the city of Baghdad. And I was just reminded of that in my just recent trip to Baghdad. So, I mean, it kind of, you know, resonates and I understand it. But essentially what this book wants to do is understand or sort of unpack why is it when we look at a group of art and say, oh yeah, this is Iraqi art, even before we recognize the artist, what makes it Iraqi? What is that thing? You know, what is this, what I'm arguing is specific aesthetics that are, yes, possibly shared by, you know, the neighboring countries and at certain periods of times by choice and exchanges, but also remain specific to Iraq. What makes this work Iraqi, essentially, is what I am trying to argue. And through that, you know, go through contextualizing some of the artists and recontextualizing some of the artists. You know, an artist like Jawad Salim, who is known and revered by everyone, but, you know, possibly there are a couple of narratives that are written, you know, just very sort of text that repeats, let's say, Jabra Ibrahim Jabra's writing, and perhaps it's time to reconsider it in a different context. But also other artists like Madiha Omar, like Faisal Aibi. There are so many other artists that have not been studied that we need to include. And so this is an excuse to write more about you know, modern Iraqi art, but also a way for me to rework some of those theories that I introduced in modern Arab art.